Trump is the Republican Party's biggest loser. He has now flopped in 2018, 2020, 2021, and 2022. What will Democrats do when Donald Trump isn't around to lose elections? We have to wonder because on Tuesday Democrats succeeded again in making the former president a central campaign issue, and Mr. Trump helped them do it. Trumpy Republican candidates failed at the ballot box in states that were clearly winnable. This can't be what Mr. Trump was envisioning ahead of his very big announcement next week. Yet maybe the defeats are what the party needs to hear before 2024. Looking at the Senate map, the message could not be clearer. In New Hampshire, the Trump-endorsed Republican Don Bolduc lost to Senator Maggie Hassan, 53% to 45%, as of the latest data. At the same time, voters re-elected Republican Governor Chris Sununu by 16 points. Don Bolduc was a very nice guy, but he lost tonight when he disavowed, after his big primary win, his long-standing stance on election fraud, Mr. Trump said. Had he stayed strong and true, he would have won, easily. We doubt New Hampshire voters simply wanted Mr. Bolduc to stay kooky. In Arizona, the Trump-endorsed Republican Blake Masters trails Senator Mark Kelly, 51% to 47%. This is a state successful Governor Doug Ducey won by 14 points in 2018. Mr. Ducey could have won the Senate seat, but Mr. Trump pledged to go to war with him because Mr. Ducey refused to entertain 2020 fraud theories. In Pennsylvania, the Trump-endorsed Republican Mehmet Oz lost to John Fetterman, 51% to 47%. This is a tough state for the GOP. But Mr. Fetterman was a weak candidate. He's a lefty with a record of wanting Medicare for all and a ban on fracking, and he's recovering from a stroke. David McCormick would have been a better Republican nominee, but he wouldn't say the 2020 election was stolen, so Mr. Trump endorsed Mr. Oz. In Georgia, the Trump-endorsed Republican Herschel Walker trails Senator Raphael Warnock, 49.4% to 48.5%. This is going to a December runoff, which Mr. Walker could win. But Governor Brian Kemp won re-election by 8 points. Mr. Walker's flaws as a candidate were obvious, but Mr. Trump helped clear the primary field and other candidates opted out. In Ohio, the Trump-endorsed Republican J.D. Vance won a solid victory over Representative Tim Ryan, 53% to 47%, while Republican Governor Mike DeWine won by 26 points. Mr. Vance was a poor fundraiser. As of October 19, had pulled in $12 million to Mr. Ryan's $47 million. What saved him was $32 million from the Senate Leadership Fund, SLF, a super PAC aligned with Mitch McConnell. Mr. Vance trailed in the polls until mid-October. Doug Mastriano, Pennsylvania's Trump-endorsed gubernatorial choice, lost by 14 points. Tim Michels in Wisconsin and Tudor Dixon in Michigan fumbled winnable gubernatorial races. Also in Michigan, Mr. Trump helped John Gibbs beat GOP Representative Peter Meijer in the primary in the Grand Rapids seat because Mr. Meijer voted to impeach him. Mr. Gibbs lost by 13 points. Representative Jamie Herrera Beutler also voted to impeach Mr. Trump, who helped Joe Kent beat her in a primary. Mr. Kent is trailing in that Washington state district. Mr. Trump could have stayed quiet in the final weeks of the campaign except to spend money to help his candidates. But he did little of the latter and instead staged rallies that played into Democratic hands. His rally in Latrobe last week might have hurt Mr. Oz with suburban voters who cost Mr. Trump the state in 2020. Since his unlikely victory in 2016 against the widely disliked Hillary Clinton, Mr. Trump has a perfect record of electoral defeat. The GOP was pounded in the 2018 midterms owing to his low approval rating. Mr. Trump himself lost in 2020. He then sabotaged Georgia's 2021 runoffs by blaming party leaders for not somehow overturning his defeat. That gave Democrats control of the Senate, letting President Biden pump up inflation with a $1.9 trillion COVID bill, appoint a liberal Supreme Court justice, and pass a $700 billion climate spending hash. Now Mr. Trump has botched the 2022 elections, and it could hand Democrats the Senate for 2 more years. Mr. Trump had policy successes as president, including tax cuts and deregulation, but he has led Republicans into one political fiasco after another. "We're going to win so much," Mr. Trump once said, "that you're going to get sick and tired of winning." Maybe by now Republicans are sick and tired of losing.